Hello, Dr. Jim Palermo coming to you again. MELS 603, Resource Management and School Law. It is week 12, session 12, and our focus this week is on HR evaluation, rights of students with disabilities, and I want to touch on the SIAP D and E's by reviewing and going back over some SIAP A, B, and C. As you receive this, you should have already or should soon be submitting your OMA A, B, C, and D to me in Blackboard to review. I'll be looking forward to those and again want to get you moving ahead and thinking about SIAP D and E so that we can round out the writing for this semester and stay on track with things. So, from the MELS handbook, which is in the MELS information in Blackboard, number 6, the SIAP is the School Improvement Project. And you have previously completed SIAP A, B, and C. To go backwards in order to go forwards, the SIAP A is the School Data Image Project. It is primarily focused on student achievement, but lots of other data as well, attendance, discipline, benchmark, uh, data pertinent to student achievement, and you should have disaggregated this data. Now, I'm going to speak from a model that I know. I worked and led schools in Wake County for a while, and we used a comprehensive needs assessment for the beginning of our data analysis for school improvement. The kinds of stuff that we gathered in the CNA is exactly the A and B student achievement data, attendance, discipline, standardized test result data. So if you do not have a model for a comprehensive needs assessment, if you still need to complete this A and B before you move on, look in the Content 12 module and look at the CNA, Comprehensive Needs Assessment document that's there. It may give you a place to start. Component C, the Teacher Working Conditions Survey, overlaps with several others with the CAP and others that you have done. You should have completed that with a class presentation and note-taking guide last semester, I think. And then in D and E. So what's going on here? Again, in my experience with this continuous improvement process, in A and B and C, we collect a whole bunch of the data to form this data picture of our school. And usually in our Wake County process, the comprehensive needs assessment was done every 2 or 3 years in order to try to get a 3-year school improvement plan up and running. Then we did look at it annually and tweak it after we'd seen our most recent EOC, EOG benchmark data. And oftentimes we had a particular focus for the year that was smaller, and usually the school improvement plan was very broad and had 2 or 3 broad goals. Then we had to bring it down and focus on what we could actually achieve in any given year. Here's an example. We had lots of different data at Lufkin, my middle school, with student achievement data and lots of data about all of our different subgroups. What we found is that at Lufkin, the time I was principal, our ELL, ESL students were struggling. So, what did we do for them? Well, we focused on them. We disaggregated the data in order to focus on them and know who they were and what they needed. And then we rejiggered the schedule. We did not have Title I dollars. We didn't have extra resources for software or for books. But what we could do was rejigger the schedule in order to, uh, unfortunately, eliminate electives or PE for those kids and give them a double dip of reading. We found folks, we got volunteers, we pulled people to provide a second reading period for those students. So that was the group that we focused on. That became our focus group project for that year. There were other things that we were doing, but we were in particular focusing on boosting reading scores for those ELL students. And we threw more resources at that project. So if I were writing my D and E about the school improvement plan for Lufkin Road Middle, I would say that we focused this year on our ELL students and how we changed resources around in order to make that happen. So I hope that's an example that might help you or inform your work on the SIAP D&E. Please write to me if you have specific questions. It's not due this semester, but this is something that, again, in my experience, we created a one-page summary of the school improvement plan. It was a fancy little graphic that looked like a house, and the pillars were the goals that held them. You don't have to get fancy, but a one-page graphic organizer that summarizes the school improvement plan is often a way to communicate that stuff to stakeholders, to keep it in their minds. When we did our one-pager, we put it up everywhere. It was in every room, and we reminded students about it frequently. So SIAP D&E are coming up, and that's stuff that you need to work on. In the Module 12, well, there's the comprehensive needs assessment model that I referenced, and again, if you need to revisit your SIAP A and B, this might be a good place to start. But shifting gears a little bit and thinking about the content 12 for this week, again, in terms of HR and evaluation, we don't know exactly what is going to happen as far as tenure goes. Okay, I hope this is going to cooperate. We'll see. Yeah, sure. We don't know what's going to happen right now as far as tenure. It's working its way through the courts. The legislature eliminated tenure, but it is quite likely that going forward we will have some system of 1, 2, or 3-year contracts, and if folks don't have a contract for life, they might have a 5-year contract or something longer. And currently, in North Carolina, we still distinguish between beginning or probationary teachers and career status teachers. And what has not changed yet, might in the future, is the system of 3 formal and 1 informal evaluations for probationary folks, fewer evaluations for folks who are career status with those informal snapshots working. And then when teachers are coming up at the end of their renewal cycle, if that's a 1, 2, 3-year contract going forward, then they would likely have the 3 observations again. So that's telling you what we know right now about the observation and evaluation process in North Carolina. Again, stay tuned because the legislature has ideas and the courts have ideas, and we're moving forward. Well, talked a little bit in previous weeks about hiring staff, about evaluating or monitoring and helping staff get better. At some point, as a principal, you have to make the very tough management decision to move from helping teachers get better to helping them get gone. And if that sounds harsh, then I'll tell you that the hardest work as a principal is supervising folks out the door. And your heart might go out to someone who has a family and is doing an okay job, but I hope as a principal that you will think about what's best for kids. And it is unfortunate that some marginal teachers might be very nice people, but might need to find some other line of work such that all students can be successful at your school. So one of the first things that nobody taught me, but I kind of learned on the job, was that you have to document some things. That there are people, unfortunately, who don't do right. I changed the name to protect the innocent, but this no plans memo is a real memo that I wrote in 2003 to a teacher that I was concerned about her lack of performance. You can read it yourself, but why would Palermo be writing such a memo? I was concerned about her sketchy plans and the lack of emergency plans. This teacher was a very nice lady, but kind of slack and absent a lot, and not leaving good plans when she was out. She was in a probationary position, And so I kind of already had in mind, after I was seeing the pattern of this kind of behavior, that I didn't want her back. But I can't just do that at the end of the year. I need to pile up some documentation that shows I have worked with the teacher, and also that he or she has not necessarily performed up to my expectations. You have to do this very clearly, and just the facts, ma'am. Sergeant Joe Friday. Remember Dragnet, and just the facts. So if you read this memo, I think it's a pretty good example of me citing just exactly what the problem is, stating what it is that I want her to do. And it's unfortunate, but after I put it in writing and put this into her file in the school, she still didn't comply. So then you have more evidence to say, I'm sorry, I tried, you didn't rise to the occasion. Okay, so you do some documenting with people, and then you have the possibility at the end of a school year to make a decision about this teacher staying or going. And so I have a case study that I wrote that, again, is very real. I'm protecting the names, or change the names to protect the innocent, but a very real case study of a fellow named Bob who, well, you can choose for yourself whether you're going to renew Bob or not. All the facts are presented here in a case. I've not changed very much from the reality, but enough to try to protect the innocent. So uh, check out Bob's end of year conference, please. So from there, after you read and digested this stuff in the content, please go over to the discussion board. Blackboard's being kind of finicky this morning. Go over to the discussion board and you'll see two for this week, for week 12. Um, Well, the first one is on inclusion, and we have been thinking, and I hope that you learned a whole lot in writing your OMA-C about special education services at your school. But this is from the text, and questions about IDEA and inclusion. So read through that, do a little research, and then respond. And then this is related to Bob's end of year conference. There were a bunch of questions there, but I want you to please read Bob's end of year and then respond and say whether you would keep Bob or not. Originally it was a tenure recommendation, but same thing is true if a teacher is at the end of their contract year and you have to determine whether to keep them or not. Okay, discussions, content, video. Y'all have a lot of work to do, a lot of writing. Please do write to me and ask if you're concerned or have any questions about the artifacts. Most of you are keeping up with that stuff pretty well. I look forward to reading your OMAs, and then with SIAP D and E and keeping up with these discussions, you should be reaching the, well, early in December, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you. Have a great week. Call me or email if you need something.